This impact of one of the pieces that blueprint needs to have from the coaching perspective in particular is the curriculum. And the majority of our clubs still don't have any kind of a curriculum, even though there's one or two of them out there from the national organizations that they could be using. Imagine sending your child to a school that has no curriculum, that each teacher in each classroom is just kind of making it up as he or she goes along. And there's no continuity as to what happens in first grade to second grade to third grade and so forth in your child's academic career as they try to work their way up to the college level of academics. Well, this is a large part of what's happened in a lot of our soccer clubs. As I said, you were willing to coach. Here's your clipboard, here's a whistle, there's a field, good luck, we'll see at the end of the season, was basically what was being done. And to an extent, it's still happening in a lot of places. And God bless that person for being out there and volunteering to spend his or her time with the kids. We are at the stage right now of having soccer in our country as a mainstream event, a mainstream sport, because of the work of volunteers. Not because of the work of paid personnel, because of the work of volunteers. The paid personnel are getting in now to the house that's already been built and going around and trying to fix it up a little bit, polish it up a little bit. But the base of what we've got as far as youth soccer goes has been on the backs of moms and dads who went out and created soccer in places where it didn't exist at all. Well, part of it is the curriculum. Part of the design now, that blueprint now, needs to be looking at a curriculum for what we do with our players. So you see on the radius, these are just some of the different things that impact the development of soccer skill. Putting our coaches' hats on for a moment. At 12 o'clock, you see the coaches' objectives. So figuring out, well, what is it that I want to teach this training session, this week, this month, this season, this year, and having, again, a plan as to what it is that I'm going to teach as I progress along. So that's the coaches' derived objectives. Then we talk about the coach's evaluation techniques. How does the coach evaluate players during training sessions, during matches, to be able to know where are we right now in our development and where do I need to go next? Do I need to stay where I'm at? Do I need to drop back a step? Do I need to go up a step? If I'm not regularly evaluating my players in terms of assessing their performance during training sessions and matches, I can't know where I need to go next. And so evaluation skills. The coach's knowledge of the components of the game. So that's the 4 components of the game: fitness, technique, tactics, psychology. The depth of the coach's knowledge obviously impacts his or her ability to evaluate the players and then also to be able to teach the players, to be able to educate and develop the players. The coach's evaluation is a piece that I see missing in probably 90% of our clubs across the country. And that is the director of coaching going around and evaluating the coaches within the club, to give the coaches some feedback, just as at your school that your child goes to, the principal or the assistant principal, or however they set it up, somebody every once in a while goes and sits in the classroom and evaluates the teacher and evaluates the work that they're doing, looks at their lesson plans, et cetera, gives them feedback to help them improve, to keep them on track. And that's one of the things that most of our soccer clubs are not doing, other than the most professionally run soccer clubs are doing things along that line. Then what's the player's learning experience that they have at their training sessions and matches, because it's all a learning experience, every piece of it. What's that environment like? What's the impact of the design of the club, the family's involvement, school, town, all of these other things that impact a child's participation in a youth sport. And then the coach's reservoir of training sessions, and that's the knowledge of activities that I can do in a training session, lesson plans that I have available to me and that such. And that's a whole lot better now too, because we have a whole lot of that available to coaches online. You can go to the USU Soccer website and download lesson plans. You can go to the US Soccer website and download lesson plans. So a lot of that is more readily available today. So we looked at it and we said, well, there's fundamentally 3 different types of clubs across the country. And a lot of clubs are a combination of one or more of these, because they may be in a transition stage, so they may not all fit neatly into these categories, and they may be at some stage in between 1 or 2 of these categories. And so you can see the open club, which is usually volunteer driven completely. Volunteer administrators, volunteer coaches, maybe even volunteer referees, volunteer field liners, net hangers, volunteer concession stand, the whole ball of wax. Then you get into the group that stage, they've gone to where we have a few paid employees or part-time employees. That could be a part-time administrator or a full-time administrator in the club. It could be a part-time or full-time coach that's being paid, or more than one administrator or more than one coach. And that's that developmental club that's kind of in that transition. It still has a volunteer board and administration. All of the team managers are volunteers, for example, in that setup. And then there's the professional youth club, which is still a very small percentage of the clubs all across the country, but that's a growing trend of the club that everybody that works in the club is paid. So the coaches are paid to coach, but also do the administration for the club. So a number of them have a bachelor's degree in sports management or sports administration, as well as their coaching license and a playing background is what's occurred in a number of places. That paid coach might be in charge of an age group. And so I might be the paid coach I'm the head coach of the under-16s, but I'm in charge of the under-10s for the club. So I oversee all of the under-10 coaches and the under-10 curriculum and these sort of things. It's just another one of the examples that I'm aware of. There's a number of different ways to skin that cat. So we're looking at how do we create our new clubs as they continue to evolve across the country, because that's happening in some small communities across the nation, particularly in rural communities, and a little bit in inner city situations, and then how do we enhance our existing soccer clubs. So we're looking at the four primary components that impact the club. The organization, the setup of the club, the design of the club, the planning that the club has in terms of short-term and long-term planning. That's a little bit of the business plan, it's a little bit of the player development plan, and then the leadership. What's the vision of the leadership? Is there a vision for the leadership, or is it we're just dealing with day-to-day operations? Then the facilities, what do we have that exist? Where do we want to go in the future in order to enhance our facilities as perhaps our club grows in numbers? Maybe it doesn't grow in numbers, but we want to improve the quality of it. So it could be a combination of quantity or quality of facilities, and the maintenance of those facilities and improvement of those facilities. Then staffing in terms of administration, coaching, officiating, fundraising, all of the different things that might need to happen in staffing, both at a volunteer and at a paid level. And then programming. Programming being like the player development curriculum, but also a plan for the development of our personnel, that we reinvest some of our money back into our people. So that's paying for coaches to go to coaching courses. It's paying for administrators to go to state, regional, and national meetings and those sort of things to improve the people that run our club, that impact our club. It's no different in that regard than a school sending their teachers to continuing education, or a business sending its personnel to continuing professional development. So what are some of the goals and problems and challenges that we face? With the volunteer, dad-driven, mom-driven, dad coach, mom coach, we have a lot of good people out working with the kids, but sometimes no fault of their own. A little bit left in the dark, a little bit left of, well, good luck, here's the whistle, as I said before, here's the bag of training bibs, and good luck. And so this has gotten us up and going, but now it's time to make that next step, to make that next little evolution from a business perspective of saying, well, going from a mom and pop operation to a little bit more of a professional business model, if you want to look at it that way. What are the opportunities for players and parents who wish to have certified coaches and player development as the focus of developmental clubs? So that's that next stage. And really here, this is all this is. This is, as we become a little bit more sophisticated in our soccer awareness and knowledge, moms and dads looking at how the game can be played, how it is possible to play the game, because they can look around now to a lot of universities and see good soccer going on. They can see professional soccer, in your case, right in your own backyard. You can go and watch professional games. And my goodness, what we can see on TV now is astounding. We can see the very best soccer from anywhere on the planet. So now we have that picture as to what the game can look like. And so now they're beginning to recognize, I want my child to have that opportunity with a little bit more knowledgeable coach, a little bit more talented coach, a little bit more experienced coach, basically a better teacher, and in order to impact